Friends, when we talk about those Hollywood films that didn't just make money at the box office, but actually left a lasting mark on an entire generation's memories, one name always shines bright, and that is The Mask. This wasn't just a movie, it was a cinematic revolution of its time, blending comedy, fantasy, and the superhero genre into something no one had ever seen before. Today, I'm going to take you through the entire journey of this franchise, starting all the way back in 1994 with Jim Carrey's explosive entry, moving to the 2005 sequel Son of the Mask, that failed to capture the audience's heart, and finally reaching the big question, what's really going on with The Mask 3, and when can we expect it to release? So make sure you watch this video till the end for all the details. And if you're here for the very first time, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. So let's rewind to 1994, when Hollywood witnessed the arrival of a character who seemed ordinary on the outside, but completely transformed cinema. Stanley Ipkiss. Stanley wasn't a superhero. He wasn't rich, and he didn't have any special qualities. He was just a regular guy, a bank clerk, living a boring and depressing life. But friends, that was exactly the charm of his character. Because at some point in life, every ordinary person feels that same longing, wishing they had something that could set them apart from the crowd. And when Stanley stumbles upon that mysterious mask, his life changes forever. This mask wasn't just some ordinary artifact. It carried a mythological secret. It was said to be linked to the Norse god Loki, the god of mischief and chaos. Whenever someone wore this mask, their inner personality would come alive, magnified to an extreme degree, with insane levels of energy and power. A timid, shy man like Stanley suddenly turned into an overconfident, wildly powerful, completely out-of-control figure that the world came to know as The Mask. The way Jim Carrey brought this character to life was nothing short of iconic. His rubber-like facial expressions, his impeccable comic timing, the sheer madness, and that over-the-top behavior after wearing the mask. It was so entertaining that theaters erupted with whistles, cheers, and applause. And don't forget, this was 1994, when computer graphics weren't nearly as advanced as they are today. Yet the film delivered visuals that remain unforgettable even now. And yes, friends, this film also introduced us to Cameron Diaz. That's right, The Mask was her debut movie, and with her role as Tina Carlisle, she became a star overnight. Her beauty, combined with her chemistry with Jim Carrey, added another layer of magic to the film. Now let's talk about the success of this movie. Made on a budget of just $23 million, it went on to gross around $351 million worldwide. That's more than 15 times its budget. For that time, this was massive. Not only did it dominate the box office, but it also made a permanent impact on pop culture. Jim Carrey's dialogues, his dance numbers, his crazy antics, all became so popular that people still imitate them to this day. That's why The Mask continues to be considered a cult classic even now. But friends, when a film becomes such a huge hit, expectations for a sequel naturally rise. Audiences were eager to see that magic return. And eventually, in 2005, Son of the Mask arrived. But, as they say, every coin has two sides, and this time the story took a very different turn. Just the title Son of the Mask was enough to make fans excited, hoping to see Jim Carrey back in action. But the biggest shock was, Jim Carrey wasn't in the movie at all. Instead, a new character, Tim Avery, played by Jamie Kennedy, was introduced. The story this time revolved around the mask resurfacing years later and ending up in the hands of Tim Avery, a struggling cartoonist. His life turns chaotic when the mask enters it. But the real twist comes when his wife gives birth to a baby, and that baby inherits the powers of the mask. On paper, the concept might sound interesting, but in reality, the film turned out to be bizarre and disappointing. It lacked Jim Carrey's comic timing, the energy, and the madness that made the first film so special. The sequences showing the baby with mask powers came off as childish and silly. Critics absolutely trashed it, and audiences rejected it as well. This time, the budget was way higher, around $84 million, but the film only managed to earn $59 million at the box office, making it a financial disaster. And if you look at its IMDb rating, just 2.2 out of 10. That's right, it is counted among the worst sequels in Hollywood history. So friends, while the original 1994 The Mask created history, the 2005 Son of the Mask dragged the franchise's reputation down into the mud. Yet, despite all this, fans still continue to hope for The Mask 3. Why? Because they believe that until Jim Carrey himself returns as the character, this franchise will never truly feel complete. Jim Carrey himself has said multiple times that if the right story idea comes along, he'd consider returning for another Mask film. For years, fans have carried one burning question in their hearts. When will the real sequel to The Mask arrive? And when will we finally see Jim Carrey step back into this legendary role? That question has been circling Hollywood for decades. And today, here we are, standing at the gates of The Mask 3, a film that, nearly 30 years later, is ready to bring the magic of this mask back to the big screen. The Mask 3 picks up exactly where Son of the Mask left us hanging. In the 2005 sequel, we saw the mask make its way to a child, and Loki's sudden entry completely shifted the tone of the story. But this time, the franchise is going in a far darker, more emotional, and adventurous direction. Stanley Ipkiss, played once again by Jim Carrey, is no longer the naive, timid bank clerk we first met in 1994. Age and experience have transformed him into a stronger, wiser, and more mature man. Long ago, Stanley locked the mask away, determined to remove it from his life forever after witnessing how it tore his world apart and destroyed his chance at a normal life. But destiny has other plans. When a new threat casts its shadow across the world, that same mask finds its way back to Stanley's doorstep. The film opens with Stanley living a quiet, simple life. He's now a father, raising his son who has grown into a young man. This son becomes the centerpiece of the story, because the new journey of the mask begins with him. A fresh, charismatic young actor has been cast in this role, someone chosen specifically to connect The Mask 3, not just with nostalgia, but with the new generation as well. The real twist comes when Loki makes his return. Yes, the same Loki who hunted the mask in Son of the Mask comes back even more dangerous, more cunning, and more determined than ever. He now knows the mask holds powers far beyond jokes and mischief. It carries the potential to reshape human destiny and plunge the world into absolute chaos. Stanley desperately tries to keep his son away from the mask, but fate intervenes, and the boy eventually puts it on. This is where the real fun begins. On one side, we have Stanley, who knows firsthand the dark side of the mask, and on the other, his son, who sees it as nothing more than fun, power, and adventure. That generational clash of perspectives becomes the emotional core of the film. Father and son stand on opposite sides of the argument, until Loki seizes control of the mask himself, using its limitless power to drag the world toward destruction. In that moment, father and son have no choice but to unite and fight side by side. The climax of The Mask 3 is nothing short of spectacular. For the first time, we see Loki's true form unleashed, as well as the full potential of the mask itself. The final battle isn't just about comedy or slapstick. It's an epic showdown on a massive scale, with Loki determined to use the mask to enslave the world, and Stanley and his son fighting with everything they have to stop him. The tone is darker and more emotional than before, but the signature humor, cartoonish energy, and wild antics that define the mask are still everywhere to be found. Now let's talk about the cast. The biggest and most exciting news for fans is that Jim Carrey has officially said yes. For years, audiences insisted that the Mask franchise should only move forward if Carrey returned, and now that dream has come true. His energy, his rubbery expression, and his comedic genius as Stanley Ipkiss are the heart and soul of this movie, and without him, there simply is no Mask. Loki, once again played by Alan Cumming, also makes a powerful comeback. He's more terrifying and layered this time, and his role is far bigger than it was before. And for a special nostalgic touch, Cameron Diaz, who played Tina Carlisle in the original 1994 film, will appear in a cameo role. It's not a large part, but her presence adds emotional weight and brings fans right back to where it all began. As for Stanley's son, a rising young star already popular among Marvel and DC fans has been cast, giving the film the modern edge it needs to connect with today's audience. When it comes to the budget, The Mask 3 is no small project. Reports suggest the film's production cost is around $120 million. A huge portion of this has gone into CGI and visual effects, because without top-tier VFX, The Mask simply can't exist. From the transformations to the cartoonish gags to the giant-scale fight sequences, Every bit of it depends on world-class visual design. And of course, Jim Carrey's paycheck is a major factor as well. Word is, he's being paid around $20 million for this role alone. Add in the rest of the cast and the production team, and the costs skyrocket. But the studio is confident. This isn't just an expense, it's an investment, and the returns are expected to be massive. As for the release date, the filmmakers are aiming big. The Mask 3 is scheduled to release in the summer of 2026 in the United States, the golden season of Hollywood blockbusters. This is the same window Marvel and DC reserve for their biggest films, and it's when audiences flock to theaters in record numbers. The goal is simple: to position The Mask 3 alongside the biggest titles in the industry, and give fans that larger-than-life theater experience. Now the big question: how will it perform at the box office? Friends, two things are crystal clear. First, Jim Carrey's return alone is a massive draw. Second, the nostalgia factor. The audience that grew up watching The Mask in the 90s are now adults, many with children of their own. That means this film has the potential to pull in two generations at once. Analysts predict that The Mask 3 could open with more than $100 million in its first weekend in the US alone. Over its full run, domestic earnings are expected to land somewhere between $400 to $450 million. Globally, the film could soar past $800 million and possibly even hit the $1 billion mark, making it one of the biggest blockbusters in Hollywood history. But make no mistake, The Mask 3 isn't just about making money. It's about creating a cinematic event that perfectly blends nostalgia with modern entertainment. Jim Carrey's comic brilliance, Alan Cummings' menacing presence, the freshness of a new young lead, Cameron Diaz's nostalgic cameo, and breathtaking visual effects. This film promises to deliver it all. That's exactly why fans are convinced it's destined to be a massive hit. So friends, that's everything you need to know about The Mask 3. Its story, cast, budget, release date, and box office predictions. This isn't just a film. It's a gift to all the fans who waited nearly 30 years to see Jim Carrey wear the mask again. And now that day is finally coming. Believe me when I say this, The Mask 3 will be one of those movies you simply cannot afford to miss on the big screen. If you haven't already, hit that like button, drop a comment to hype up the movie, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing updates. I'll see you soon with another exciting video. Thank you.